Hello, welcome to Alex's Financial Insight Show. In today's video, I'll present revenue growth and stability analysis of lead tech companies, namely nvidia, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. So before we go and see revenue growth analysis, let us see what we discussed in last week's video. In last week's video, we discussed a comparative stock price analysis for the leading tech companies, the same companies that we are discussing today, namely nvidia, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. We basically saw two things. One is we saw the volatility of the stock price growth, and also we saw volatility adjusted stock growth. In terms of volatility, what we noted is that nvidia's stock growth is by far more volatile than the other companies, and Microsoft is the least volatile. Basically, in order terms, nvidia is the highest, then followed by Amazon, and then Apple, then Google, then Microsoft. Then in terms of volatility adjusted stock growth, nvidia it has the highest growth. Despite high volatility, it has the highest growth, and followed by Apple and Microsoft, and then comes Google, and then Amazon. So basically, this is a table that we presented last week, and in this table, the first row shows price growth rate in percent between 2019 and 2024, and as you can see, nvidia's growth is by far higher than all of the companies in considered for the analysis, and that is followed by Apple. And now when you see the standard deviation, which is a measure of volatility, again nvidia's volatility of stock growth is by far higher than the other companies. Okay, and then we adjusted the stock growth. Basically, we adjusted the first row and then generated the third row, and as you can see from the third row, still nvidia's stock growth is by far higher than the others. Yeah, and Apple and Google now tied. Apple and Microsoft, basically they are tied. Okay, so now let us see revenue growth analysis. Why revenue grows? Why it is important? It is important because it indicates how well the company is performing in the growth and growing its business. That is why we see revenue growth. And then the understanding is also that revenue growth can influence investor confidence, and this leads to stock price change. So average revenue growth for the time period between 2014 and 2023, and I used a table this time. I didn't bring graph, and as you can see from the table, Amazon now has the highest average revenue growth over the period under consideration, and that is followed by nvidia. Pretty much nvidia and Amazon are closer to each other, and Google is in the third place, and then Microsoft and Apple is in the last place. Okay, so now let us see revenue growth volatility. Looking at volatility is very important, yeah, because volatility adjusted variables basically tells us like whether the growth is stable or not. Okay, so this table has a standard deviation, okay, for the 5 companies, and as you see, nvidia's volatility or standard deviation is 0.24, while that of Microsoft is 0.6. Okay, Microsoft has the least, nvidia has the highest. The next highest is Apple. Okay, Amazon and the Google tied. Okay, now next let us see what happens to revenue growth now after we adjust for volatility. Okay, after we adjust for volatility, this is what we have. What we have is that Amazon now has the highest revenue growth, okay, followed by Google, and then Microsoft, and nvidia is in the fourth place. Okay, you see, before adjusting for volatility, nvidia was at almost, it ties to Amazon, pretty much tied to Amazon. And now once we remove the volatility from the revenue growth, see, it is in the fourth place. Okay, is it in the fourth place? So now if we put together what we saw last week and what we saw this week, okay, basically if we combine the revenue growth analysis and the stock price growth analysis, what we noted, or what is our observation, one of our observation is that nvidia exhibits the highest volatility in both stock price growth and revenue growth. Okay, we noted that. And basically this indicates that both its valuation measured in terms of stock growth and its performance measured in terms of revenue growth is subject to market conditions. It is sensitive to market conditions. That is one observation we saw about nvidia. Amazon demonstrates robust revenue growth adjusted for volatility. That is what we observed in today's video. But in last week's video, we observed that Amazon's stock growth was not particularly impressive as compared to the 5 companies, basically. So what do we see from that? What we see from that, from the case of Amazon, is that high revenue growth does not necessarily translate into elevated stock price growth. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate into an elevated stock price growth. Obviously, the other thing we observed is Microsoft exhibits the lowest volatility in both revenue and stock growth. Okay, it demonstrated more balanced growth. Microsoft demonstrated more balanced growth in both parameters. So, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, and also please provide comment. In our next video, we will focus on analyzing more fundamentals for these 5 companies and to understand them in detail. Thanks again.